ladies and gentlemen. In a world obsessed with self-improvement, endless productivity hacks, and spiritual enlightenment, Stoicism has emerged as one of the most popular philosophies of our time. On the surface, it promises tranquility, resilience, and the ability to face life's challenges with a calm, unwavering mind. Yet beneath this serene veneer, something far more insidious is at play. Stoicism has become the world's greatest scam, a tool co-opted by corporations, influencers, and self-help gurus to sell you an idealized version of life that simply doesn't exist. The commercialization of Stoicism represents one of the most significant transformations in how this ancient philosophy is understood and applied in modern society. What began as a school of thought founded by Zeno of Citium in the 3rd century BCE, with its focus on personal virtue, wisdom, and the rational pursuit of happiness, has been gradually repackaged and marketed to fit into the modern landscape of self-help, business, and wellness industries. Over the past few decades, Stoicism has undergone a shift from being a philosophical discipline aimed at cultivating a resilient and virtuous life to becoming a branded commodity, one that is often sold to individuals as the key to personal success, happiness, and mental toughness. In recent years, Stoicism has been embraced by high-profile entrepreneurs, motivational speakers, and self-help gurus who see the philosophy as a convenient framework to sell their products and services. Influential figures in the business world, for example, regularly promote Stoicism as a way to achieve success, especially in highly competitive and stressful environments. Books, online courses, coaching sessions, and motivational speeches that frame Stoicism as the answer to every problem have flooded the market. Entrepreneurs and executives alike are encouraged to adopt Stoic principles to handle setbacks, maintain focus, and build resilience in the face of challenges. However, this commercialization of Stoicism is not without its contradictions. The core of Stoic philosophy is about cultivating virtue and wisdom as an end in itself, not as a means to achieve external rewards or material success. In fact, Stoicism warns against the pursuit of wealth, fame, and status, suggesting that true contentment lies in accepting life as it is, regardless of external circumstances. Yet, in its modern incarnation, Stoicism is frequently marketed as a tool to help people achieve these very things: wealth, fame, and success. This commodification is evident in how Stoic texts, such as Marcus Aurelius's Meditations and Epictetus's Discourses, are repackaged and sold to modern readers with flashy titles like The Obstacle is the Way or The Daily Stoic. These books promise to unlock the secrets to thriving in today's fast-paced, cutthroat world, providing readers with simple strategies for overcoming obstacles and building mental fortitude. What's often left out of these modern interpretations is the deeper, more nuanced teachings of Stoicism, which emphasize inner tranquility, virtue, and the understanding that the pursuit of external achievements should not dominate one's life. One of the primary ways that Stoicism is marketed is through the idea of mental toughness. The notion that Stoic principles can help individuals develop the ability to endure hardship and discomfort has gained significant traction in both business and personal development circles. The philosophy's emphasis on controlling one's thoughts and reactions to external events is often presented as a universal solution to every personal or professional challenge. But the marketing of Stoicism as a quick fix for resilience and personal growth overlooks the broader context of the philosophy, which calls for self-reflection, mindfulness, and self-awareness, not just the ability to push through adversity without questioning the system that creates the suffering in the first place. Additionally, Stoicism's focus on cultivating virtue as the path to happiness is frequently diluted in commercial renditions. The modern portrayal of Stoicism tends to reduce it to a set of practical tools and life hacks for achieving personal success, with little regard for its ethical and moral dimensions. By emphasizing productivity, focus, and emotional control, Stoicism becomes less about moral integrity and more about achieving external success, often at the expense of deeper ethical reflection. This simplification of Stoicism into a set of productivity tools or strategies for success also reflects the broader trends in self-help and wellness culture. where philosophies and practices are often cherry-picked to fit the desires and needs of consumers rather than promoting holistic personal growth. Another issue with the commercialization of Stoicism is the rise of influencers and gurus who frame themselves as Stoic mentors. These individuals often market themselves as authorities on Stoic philosophy, providing coaching and advice on how to live the Stoic life in the modern world. Many of them leverage their public platforms, whether through books, podcasts, or social media, to sell their version of Stoicism, often without a true understanding of the philosophy's complexities or historical context. Their interpretations are typically simplified to the point of distortion, focusing more on catchy soundbites and motivational content than on the deeper principles that Stoicism espouses. This results in a watered-down version of Stoicism that serves more as a brand than as a meaningful philosophical practice. Moreover, the commercialization of Stoicism contributes to a broader trend in which the personal development industry seeks to monetize every aspect of human experience. By offering Stoicism as a product that can be bought, consumed, and sold for personal gain, the true essence of the philosophy is lost. Stoicism was never meant to be an easily digestible, one-size-fits-all solution to life's difficulties. Its teachings were meant to encourage individuals to engage with life deeply, to understand their own emotions and reactions, and to cultivate a sense of inner peace that is independent of external circumstances. By turning it into a commodity, we risk losing sight of its true potential as a transformative philosophy for living a virtuous and meaningful life. Ultimately, the commercialization of Stoicism reflects a deeper issue in contemporary society, the commodification of wisdom. In a world where knowledge and self-improvement are packaged as products to be consumed and sold, philosophies like Stoicism risk being reduced to mere tools for personal gain. Instead of fostering genuine self-awareness and growth, Stoicism becomes just another item on the self-help market, something to be purchased in the hope of achieving superficial success rather than true fulfillment. The concept of control what you can is one of the central tenets of Stoicism, often cited as a powerful tool for achieving inner peace and resilience in the face of life's challenges. The idea is deceptively simple. Focus on what is within your control, your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions, and let go of attachment to external outcomes which are beyond your influence. On the surface, this seems like sound advice, promoting a sense of calm and purpose, while helping to reduce anxiety and stress. However, when examined more closely, the mantra of "control what you can" become a deeply problematic and limiting philosophy, especially when it is used to excuse or ignore the larger systemic and societal issues that shape our lives. One of the fundamental issues with this notion is its oversimplification of complex problems. By focusing solely on individual control, the philosophy neglects the reality that many of the challenges people face in their lives are not entirely within their control, nor can they be solved by merely altering one's perspective or emotional responses. While personal responsibility and self-mastery are important aspects of Stoicism, the reductionist nature of control what you can often fails to account for the external factors that significantly affect an individual's life circumstances. It encourages a kind of self-blame for situations where personal effort and emotional regulation alone are not enough to overcome systemic injustice, inequality, or socio-economic disadvantages. For example, individuals living in poverty, facing discrimination, or suffering from chronic illness are often told to focus on what they can control, keeping a positive attitude, staying resilient, or choosing not to be consumed by negative emotion. While these principles may have value in moments of personal adversity, they can also create a dangerous illusion that the path to overcoming such challenges lies solely within the individual's internal responses. This message can inadvertently shift responsibility away from the external forces that contribute to these struggles, leaving people feeling helpless and isolated when their efforts to simply control their own reactions do not lead to the desired results. In a way, it suggests that the solution to their suffering is entirely up to them, ignoring the need for social change, collective action, and support systems. Another issue with the control what you can mentality is that it promotes emotional suppression as a form of strength. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of mastering one's emotions and not allowing external events to disturb inner tranquility. This advice, though valuable in helping individuals manage emotional turmoil, can also encourage people to repress their natural emotional responses to injustice, pain, or hardship. Instead of encouraging individuals to engage with and process their emotions, this approach can foster a culture of emotional denial, where feelings of anger, sadness, or frustration are seen as weaknesses to be overcome, rather than signals for change. By teaching people to control their emotions rather than understand and express them, the philosophy sometimes overlooks the need for healthy emotional engagement. Emotional responses, such as anger at injustice or sorrow over loss, can be powerful catalysts for action, motivating individuals to seek justice, support others, and create positive change. When Stoicism is interpreted through the lens of control what you can, it may inadvertently discourage individuals from channeling these emotions into constructive actions that challenge oppressive systems or advocate for societal transformation. Instead, it can foster a passive acceptance of circumstances that might require a more active collective response. Moreover, this Stoic maxim places a disproportionate amount of pressure on individuals to maintain control over their inner worlds, while ignoring the chaotic, unpredictable nature of life. Life is inherently uncertain, and external circumstances, such as political upheaval, economic crises, or personal tragedy, are often beyond our ability to influence. While we certainly have the power to choose how we react to certain situations, the Stoic idea that we can always control our internal responses may be overly optimistic. People may feel guilty or inadequate when they cannot maintain calm in the face of significant hardship, leading to feelings of failure or self-doubt. Additionally, the idea that we can control our thoughts and reactions to everything can be a source of frustration for many. It often implies that we should always be able to stay above it all, to remain emotionally and mentally unaffected by the inevitable suffering and challenges of life. This can create an unrealistic standard that adds to the mental burden of dealing with tough situations. The truth is that human beings are emotional, social creatures, and it is natural to experience fluctuations in mood and emotional states, particularly when facing adversity. The Stoic ideal of emotional control can set individuals up for disappointment when they inevitably encounter moments of vulnerability or when external events beyond their control affect them deeply. Moreover, when people are told to simply focus on controlling what they can, they may inadvertently neglect the larger social, economic, and political factors that play a major role in shaping their lives. By internalizing this message, individuals may become less likely to challenge societal systems that perpetuate inequality, injustice, and oppression. For instance, the focus on personal control might encourage people to work harder to improve themselves in environments where they face systemic barriers, rather than pushing for structural reforms that could address the root causes of their struggles. This can lead to a sense of powerlessness, as individuals internalize the belief that their suffering is a result of their inability to control their reactions, rather than recognizing that larger forces may be at play. The notion of control what you can also assumes a level of individual autonomy that is not always present in today's interconnected, complex world. People's lives are shaped by myriad factors, including family dynamics, access to resources, educational opportunities, and societal norms, all of which can limit their ability to control outcomes. This makes it difficult to fully embrace the idea that we have complete control over how we respond to everything. While it's certainly empowering to focus on personal agency, it's also crucial to recognize the limits of individual control in a world full of unpredictability and inequality. In the end, the myth of control what you can is rooted in a well-meaning attempt to empower individuals to take charge of their lives and responses. But it can also be a double-edged sword, leading to feelings of guilt, isolation, and powerlessness when personal efforts are insufficient to address the larger, external factors at play. It's important to acknowledge that while individual control is valuable, it's not a panacea for life's most difficult challenges. The idea that emotional suppression is a form of strength is a concept deeply embedded in certain interpretations of Stoic philosophy. Stoicism, at its core, teaches that individuals should aim for tranquility by mastering their emotions and not allowing external events to disturb their inner peace. On the surface, this might seem like a reasonable approach to navigating life's inevitable challenges. After all, who wouldn't want to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity? However, the emphasis on emotional suppression as a form of strength can have harmful consequences, both for individuals and society at large. First and foremost, the notion that emotional suppression equates to strength implies that emotions are inherently weaknesses that need to be controlled or discarded. In Stoicism, emotions are often seen as irrational disturbances of the mind, something to be avoided or dismissed in favor of reason and logic. This leads to the belief that an individual who can control their emotions is stronger, more disciplined, and more virtuous than someone who might openly express their feelings. But this view of emotions overlooks the complexity and richness of human experience. Emotions are not simply irrational reactions. They serve as important signals that provide insight into our needs, desires, values, and boundaries. By suppressing emotions, we may be ignoring these vital messages that could guide our personal growth and well-being. Furthermore, emotional suppression as strength leads to the misconception that people should be able to handle any situation on their own without showing vulnerability or seeking help. This expectation can foster a culture of emotional repression, where people feel pressured to conceal their feelings of sadness, anger, or fear. Instead of acknowledging the need for emotional support or self-care, individuals may internalize the belief that they must endure their suffering alone, leading to isolation and loneliness. This is particularly detrimental in situations where emotional expression is not only healthy but necessary for healing or growth. For example, grief, mourning, and trauma often require the expression of pain and the seeking of external support to move through these emotions in a healthy way. Suppressing these emotions may delay healing and contribute to long-term emotional distress. In many cases, the emphasis on emotional control and detachment can lead to internalized shame. If we are taught that strength lies in the ability to suppress our emotions, any display of vulnerability, whether through crying, anger, or fear, may be viewed as a weakness or failure. People may feel inadequate for experiencing emotions that are considered uncontrolled, leading them to suppress their feelings further. This internalized shame can manifest in a variety of ways, such as increased anxiety, depression, or feelings of inadequacy. Over time, the belief that emotional expression is a form of weakness can erode self-esteem and self-compassion, leading individuals to feel disconnected from their true selves and others. The impact of emotional suppression is not just personal, it also has broader social and cultural implications. In many societies, particularly those that highly value individual achievement and success, emotional suppression is often equated with professionalism and maturity. For example, in the workplace, individuals who can keep their emotions in check are often seen as more competent or capable, while those who express frustration, disappointment, or even joy may be seen as unprofessional or overly emotional. This expectation creates an environment in which emotions are not allowed to be fully acknowledged or processed, potentially leading to a toxic atmosphere where people are expected to perform under immense pressure without showing any signs of stress or fatigue. Moreover, emotional suppression can negatively affect relationships. Healthy relationships rely on open communication, empathy, and mutual understanding. When individuals suppress their emotions, they are less likely to share their true feelings with others, creating barriers to connection. This lack of emotional expression can lead to misunderstandings, resentment, and alienation between friends, family members, or romantic partners. For instance, in a romantic relationship, if one partner is constantly suppressing their anger or frustration, instead of addressing issues directly, resentment can build up over time, leading to tension and dissatisfaction. In this sense, emotional suppression not only impacts the individual, but can also damage interpersonal bonds and create long-term relational problems. The belief that emotional suppression equates to strength can also perpetuate harmful gender norms. In many cultures, men in particular are often socialized to suppress their emotions and appear stoic, even in the face of emotional turmoil. This expectation can limit emotional expression and reinforce damaging stereotypes about masculinity. Men may feel that showing vulnerability or seeking help is a sign of weakness, leading to increased rates of mental health issues, substance abuse, and even suicide. The societal pressure to suppress emotions and tough it out often means that men are less likely to seek support when they need it, exacerbating their emotional struggles. The suppression of emotions also prevents individuals from fully engaging with the world around them. Emotions, far from being obstacles to reason, often provide the energy and drive needed to act and create change. Anger, for instance, can be a powerful motivator for social justice, sparking movements that challenge systemic inequality and demand progress. Similarly, empathy and compassion, which are deeply emotional responses, can drive people to help others, to volunteer, and to advocate for the vulnerable. When emotions are suppressed, these forces for positive change can be stifled, leading to a more passive and disengaged society. While Stoicism encourages the cultivation of emotional resilience, it is important to differentiate between emotional control and emotional repression. True emotional resilience involves the ability to recognize, process, and appropriately express emotions, not to suppress them entirely. It is about being able to face adversity with emotional awareness, using those feelings as tools for growth and understanding, rather than viewing them as problems to be eradicated. Emotional intelligence, being aware of one's emotions and using that awareness to navigate life, can be just as, if not more important than the ability to suppress them. In the end, the glorification of emotional suppression as a form of strength not only distorts the true nature of Stoicism, but also leads to a misunderstanding of the vital role emotions play in our lives. Emotions are not the enemy to be controlled, but an integral part of the human experience, deserving of recognition, understanding, and expression. True strength lies not in the suppression of feelings, but in the ability to embrace them, understand their messages, and use them to guide us toward deeper self-awareness, connection with others, and meaningful action. The concept of self-sufficiency is central to many modern interpretations of Stoic philosophy, where the ideal is often framed as an individual's ability to depend solely on themselves for happiness, contentment, and emotional stability. At first glance, this focus on personal autonomy and independence seems empowering, offering a sense of control over one's life and emotions. However, when examined critically, the notion of self-sufficiency can be misleading and even harmful, particularly when it is used to dismiss the importance of community, connection, and interdependence in human life. Stoicism's emphasis on self-sufficiency often portrays individuals as autonomous beings who should be able to navigate life's challenges without relying on others. The Stoic ideal suggests that a truly virtuous person needs nothing from the external world, no material wealth, no recognition, no support from others, to achieve happiness and tranquility. Instead, all that is required is a strong inner resolve and the ability to control one's emotions and desires. This framework promotes the idea that by cultivating inner virtue and focusing on personal growth, an individual can achieve peace regardless of external circumstances. While there is merit in developing personal resilience and strength, this version of self-sufficiency can easily become a false ideal when it disregards the essential role of relationships and societal structures in human well-being. The idea that one should be able to thrive entirely on their own fosters an unrealistic and individualistic worldview. In reality, no person is truly independent or self-sufficient in every aspect of life. We are all shaped by the communities we live in, the relationships we build, and the societal structures that support us. This is especially true in today's interconnected world, where our well-being depends on a complex web of social, economic, and political factors. The myth of self-sufficiency undermines the essential role that collective action, mutual support, and cooperation play in addressing the broader challenges we face as individuals and as a society. One of the most significant dangers of promoting self-sufficiency is that it can lead individuals to isolate themselves, both emotionally and socially. If a person believes that they must rely solely on themselves for their happiness and well-being, they may begin to disconnect from others, seeing relationships as unnecessary or even as a potential burden. This can lead to loneliness and emotional distress, as human beings are fundamentally social creatures who thrive on connection and mutual support. Research has shown that social isolation can have serious negative effects on mental and physical health, contributing to increased stress, anxiety, and depression. The Stoic ideal of self-sufficiency, if taken to extremes, can reinforce a culture of emotional isolation, where people are discouraged from asking for help or seeking comfort from others. Moreover, the emphasis on self-sufficiency can inadvertently perpetuate a harmful notion of personal responsibility. In many modern interpretations of Stoicism, individuals are encouraged to take full ownership of their circumstances, regardless of the external factors that may be influencing their lives. While personal responsibility is important, this perspective can become problematic when it shifts the blame onto individuals for situations that are beyond their control. For example, a person experiencing financial hardship, discrimination, or health issues may be told to simply rely on themselves or change their mindset, rather than being encouraged to seek out support or address the systemic factors that may be contributing to their struggles. This can lead to feelings of shame and guilt, as individuals internalize the belief that they are somehow failing if they cannot navigate these challenges on their own. The promotion of self-sufficiency also overlooks the fact that many of the most fulfilling and meaningful aspects of life are inherently relational. Love, friendship, community, and collaboration are all essential components of a well-rounded and enriched life. The pursuit of meaningful relationships is not a sign of weakness, nor is it an indication of dependence. Rather, it reflects the fundamental human need for connection and support. In fact, research has consistently shown that individuals with strong social networks and close relationships experience better mental and physical health, greater happiness, and longer life expectancy. The idea that one should be self-sufficient to the point of emotional detachment neglects these important aspects of the human experience. Furthermore, the false sense of self-sufficiency can undermine the importance of asking for help when needed. In a society that values independence and self-reliance, individuals may hesitate to seek help due to the belief that they should be able to manage everything on their own. This can manifest in a reluctance to reach out for emotional support from friends or family, or to access professional resources such as therapy or counseling. The stigma surrounding mental health, for example, is often exacerbated by the belief that individuals should be able to deal with it themselves, rather than seeking external support. This perpetuates a harmful cycle in which people feel ashamed of their vulnerabilities and struggle in silence, rather than finding the help and resources they need to heal and thrive. Another significant problem with the idea of self-sufficiency is that it encourages people to view their success or failure as entirely dependent on their personal effort, ignoring the role that luck, privilege, and circumstance play in shaping one's life. While personal agency and resilience are important, it is essential to acknowledge that not everyone starts from the same place or faces the same challenges. Factors such as socioeconomic status, race, gender, and access to education all play a crucial role in determining one's opportunities and outcomes in life. The focus on self-sufficiency can lead to a lack of empathy for others who may be struggling due to factors outside of their control, as it reinforces the belief that everyone has the same ability to succeed simply by exerting enough willpower or determination. In a broader societal context, the emphasis on individual self-sufficiency also risks undermining collective responsibility. When people are encouraged to rely solely on themselves, they may be less inclined to engage in social activism or push for systemic changes that address the root causes of inequality, poverty, and injustice. By focusing on personal resilience in isolation, individuals may ignore the need for collective action and support structures that could benefit everyone. True progress requires not only individual efforts, but also societal efforts to create fairer and more supportive systems for all. Ultimately, the notion of self-sufficiency in Stoic philosophy, when misinterpreted or taken to extremes, can lead to a distorted understanding of what it means to live a fulfilling and meaningful life. While personal growth, resilience, and emotional regulation are important, they must be balanced with an acknowledgement of our interdependence as human beings. Relationships, community, and social responsibility are not signs of weakness or dependency. They are essential for our well-being and for the progress of society as a whole. The false sense of self-sufficiency encourages isolation, shame, and a narrow view of success, while the true path to fulfillment lies in recognizing the value of connection, collaboration, and mutual support. In recent years, the concept of resilience has become a cornerstone of modern self-help, corporate culture, and even societal expectations. The word itself has been co-opted and commercialized, becoming a sort of catch-all solution to life's challenges, adversities, and setbacks. The cult of resilience promotes the idea that an individual's ability to bounce back from difficulty or trauma is a sign of strength and virtue. On the surface, resilience seems like a positive trait. After all, who wouldn't want to be strong in the face of adversity? However, when resilience is pushed to the forefront of personal development and societal expectations, it often becomes problematic, encouraging a harmful mindset that places undue pressure on individuals to overcome hardship without adequately addressing the underlying causes of their suffering. The ideal of resilience often promotes an unrealistic view of human strength and the expectation that people should be able to endure hardships and emerge unscathed, or at least without showing weakness. This tough-it-out mentality is embedded in many aspects of modern culture, from the workplace to social media, where individuals are encouraged to present themselves as endlessly adaptable, undeterred by failure or suffering. The idea is that resilience means you can withstand any challenge, whether personal, professional, or emotional, without faltering. It suggests that the most virtuous people are those who endure hardships without showing vulnerability, which creates an environment where individuals feel compelled to hide their struggles and present an image of constant strength. This expectation is particularly dangerous because it tends to minimize the very real emotional, psychological, and physical tolls that adversity can take on a person. By framing resilience as the ability to keep going without showing signs of distress, society places an immense burden on individuals to ignore or suppress their pain. People are told to keep pushing through, bounce back, or move on, often before they have had the time or space to properly process their emotions or trauma. This discourages individuals from acknowledging their pain and seeking help when needed, as the message becomes clear that vulnerability and emotional expression are signs of weakness, not strength. Furthermore, the cult of resilience often fails to recognize that not all hardships are the same, and not all individuals have the same resources or support systems to navigate adversity. While some people may indeed have the inner strength, mental tools, or external support to cope with challenges effectively, others may face overwhelming circumstances that make resilience more difficult, if not impossible, to achieve without adequate resources or help. Factors such as socioeconomic status, race, gender, mental health, and access to social support all play significant roles in a person's ability to cope with hardship. The focus on individual resilience overlooks these critical disparities, implicitly blaming people for their inability to recover from trauma or hardship if they cannot demonstrate the resilience that society deems necessary. Moreover, the obsession with resilience often neglects the importance of healing. Resilience, as it is commonly understood, is more about survival than it is about thriving. It's about enduring and persisting through hardship, often without addressing the deeper emotional or psychological needs that arise from such experiences. This framing of resilience reinforces the idea that people should simply get over it, rather than giving them permission to feel their emotions, process their pain, and heal at their own pace. The emphasis on moving on too quickly can delay or even prevent proper recovery, leaving individuals with unresolved trauma, which can have long-term consequences on mental and physical health. In the workplace, the cult of resilience can be particularly toxic, as it can lead to a culture of burnout and overwork. Employees are often encouraged to be resilient in the face of ever-increasing demands and expectations, with little regard for their mental or physical well-being. Companies may offer workshops on how to build resilience but fail to address the underlying problems: unmanageable workloads, lack of support, or toxic work environments that contribute to stress and burnout. In this context, resilience becomes a tool for employers to avoid responsibility for creating a healthy, sustainable work environment. Instead of changing the conditions that lead to employee burnout, the focus is shifted to empowering employees to tolerate more stress, often without any real regard for their long-term health or happiness. On a broader societal level, the cult of resilience often discourages collective action or systemic change. When individuals are told that resilience is the key to overcoming adversity, it can lead to the belief that societal issues such as poverty, inequality, or racial injustice can be overcome through personal strength alone. This individualistic approach ignores the fact that many of the challenges people face are not personal shortcomings, but are the result of larger social, political, and economic structures that need to be addressed. The emphasis on personal resilience can create a sense of helplessness and self-blame for people who are struggling with issues beyond their control, while allowing society to avoid confronting the root causes of systemic injustice. This narrow view of resilience can also exacerbate mental health issues. When people feel as though they must constantly be strong and resilient, they may avoid seeking help for their mental health struggles, fearing that doing so would be seen as a weakness or failure. This leads to a culture of emotional repression, where people feel they must constantly maintain an image of strength, even when they are suffering. Ironically, this emphasis on unyielding resilience can contribute to a cycle of emotional repression, anxiety, and depression, as individuals are unable to express their vulnerability or seek the support they need. In many ways, the cult of resilience places the blame for hardship squarely on the individual, suggesting that if they are not resilient enough to overcome challenges, they are somehow lacking. This is an unfair and oversimplified view of the human experience. Resilience is not about never experiencing pain, failure, or difficulty. It's about learning to navigate those experiences in a healthy, constructive way. It's not about enduring suffering silently or repressing one's emotions. It's about finding strength in vulnerability, seeking support when needed, and acknowledging that sometimes healing and growth take time. The obsession with resilience also fails to account for the fact that resilience itself can be nurtured and developed within a supportive environment. Resilience is not an innate trait that some people are simply born with. It is often the result of access to resources, emotional support, and opportunities for growth. When we focus solely on individual resilience, we ignore the collective responsibility to create a society that supports people through adversity, rather than expecting them to endure it alone. The cult of resilience in its current form is ultimately an oversimplification of the human experience, one that glorifies toughness and endurance while downplaying the importance of healing, support, and societal change. Resilience, when understood as an ongoing process of emotional growth, healing, and community support, can be a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges. However, when it is framed as a test of strength that individuals must face alone, it becomes a dangerous ideal that encourages emotional repression, self-blame, and neglect of the systemic issues that contribute to suffering. The promise of happiness through endurance is an idea that has been deeply ingrained in many philosophical and cultural traditions, with roots stretching back to ancient times. At its core, this promise suggests that happiness is not an immediate or easily attainable state, but rather a reward earned through perseverance, suffering, and endurance. This notion often suggests that enduring hardship with strength and determination will lead to a more profound, lasting sense of contentment. However, while endurance in the face of adversity can certainly foster resilience and personal growth, the idea that happiness is solely or primarily the result of enduring suffering can be problematic. It oversimplifies the complex nature of human happiness and suggests that joy can only be achieved by persevering through pain, which may not be true for everyone. The idea of finding happiness through endurance is deeply rooted in various philosophies and religious teachings, where the emphasis is often placed on suffering as a means of spiritual purification or personal development. In Stoicism, for example, the focus is on enduring life's challenges with equanimity, practicing self-control and detachment from the external world to achieve inner peace. In Christianity, suffering is often seen as a way to attain spiritual salvation and closeness to God. In many ways, this belief has permeated modern society as well, where individuals are encouraged to push through difficulties, believing that happiness will follow as a result of their perseverance. Whether it is through enduring emotional pain, personal setbacks, or societal injustices, The idea is that happiness is a prize that must be earned through struggle. However, this promise can be overly simplistic, as it ignores the multifaceted nature of human happiness. Happiness is not merely the absence of suffering or a product of enduring hardship. It is a dynamic and complex state that is influenced by a multitude of factors, including relationships, personal fulfillment, mental health, and access to basic needs. The promise that enduring suffering will inevitably lead to happiness places undue pressure on individuals, implying that if they are not experiencing joy after enduring hardship, they are somehow failing or not doing enough. It overlooks the reality that sometimes, despite immense effort, pain does not always lead to a deeper sense of happiness or fulfillment. Endurance, while often seen as a virtue, can also be misinterpreted as a form of self-sacrifice or martyrdom. This can lead people to prioritize endurance over self-care, neglecting their own well-being in the process. The expectation that one must endure pain and hardship in silence, without seeking relief or respite, can encourage individuals to push themselves beyond their limits. This can have detrimental effects on mental and physical health, as the constant emphasis on endurance may lead to burnout, anxiety, or depression. Rather than cultivating happiness, the obsession with endurance can often lead to a depletion of energy and spirit, leaving individuals feeling empty or disconnected. In many cases, the promise of happiness through endurance can also create unrealistic expectations, particularly for those who are facing challenges beyond their control. For example, individuals who are experiencing systemic oppression, poverty, or chronic illness may be told that they simply need to endure their struggles, and happiness will eventually follow. This perspective overlooks the fact that some hardships are not easily overcome through sheer willpower or endurance alone. In these situations, the emphasis on endurance can feel invalidating, as it implies that the person suffering is a necessary part of their journey to happiness, rather than something that deserves compassion, understanding, and systemic change. Furthermore, the idea that happiness is something to be attained only through suffering can create a toxic mindset in which people feel guilty for experiencing joy or pleasure in the absence of hardship. This notion can reinforce the belief that individuals must earn their happiness and that any moment of ease or contentment is fleeting or undeserved. In a culture that idolizes endurance, people may feel that they are not entitled to rest or enjoyment unless they have endured a sufficient amount of struggle. This mindset can undermine the importance of self-care, leisure, and play, which are essential for maintaining mental and emotional well-being. The promise of happiness through endurance also fails to account for the role of external factors in shaping happiness. While personal endurance and resilience can certainly play a role in overcoming challenges, happiness is also deeply influenced by external circumstances, such as socioeconomic status, support networks, access to education, and opportunities for personal growth. The idea that happiness can only be achieved through enduring suffering places the burden of happiness entirely on the individual, ignoring the structural and systemic factors that contribute to an individual's well-being. This can lead to a sense of shame or inadequacy for those who may be facing significant challenges, but feel unable to meet the unrealistic expectation of finding happiness through endurance alone. Moreover, the emphasis on enduring suffering can sometimes result in a lack of focus on preventing or alleviating unnecessary pain. Rather than encouraging individuals to seek out support, comfort, or relief from suffering, the promise of happiness through endurance can lead to the assumption that all forms of discomfort are necessary for growth. In this mindset, people may be less likely to seek help when they need it, or to address the root causes of their suffering. For instance, mental health struggles, relationship issues, or workplace stress may be viewed as challenges to endure rather than problems to be addressed or mitigated. This can perpetuate a culture in which suffering is seen as an inevitable and necessary part of life, rather than something that can be alleviated through compassion, care, and collective action. Additionally, the promise of happiness through endurance often leads to a narrow understanding of success. In this framework, success is defined by an individual's ability to persist in the face of adversity, without considering the broader context in which that adversity occurs. People are encouraged to measure their progress by how much they can endure, rather than by how much they have learned, how much joy they have experienced, or how much they have grown as individuals. This can lead to a distorted sense of achievement, where the value of one's journey is defined solely by the hardships overcome, rather than the holistic development of the person as a whole. Ultimately, the idea that happiness can only be found through endurance places an immense amount of pressure on individuals to bear their suffering in silence, believing that this will lead to personal fulfillment or happiness. While resilience and perseverance are valuable traits, they should not be viewed as the sole pathways to happiness. Happiness is a complex and multifaceted experience that cannot be reduced to mere endurance or suffering. True contentment comes from a balance of personal growth, self-care, meaningful relationships, and external circumstances that support well-being. By broadening the understanding of happiness to include these factors, we can begin to see that joy and fulfillment are not rewards for enduring hardship, but inherent aspects of the human experience that deserve attention, care, and cultivation. In conclusion, while the concept of enduring hardship to achieve happiness is deeply embedded in various philosophies and cultures, it is essential to recognize that happiness is not merely a reward for suffering. True fulfillment comes from a holistic approach that balances resilience with self-care, connection with others, and an awareness of the external factors that shape our lives. Rather than viewing happiness as something we must earn through endurance alone, we should embrace the idea that joy is not just the absence of pain, but the presence of meaning, growth, and the support of a compassionate community. By reframing our understanding of happiness, we can cultivate a more sustainable and authentic sense of well-being, one that honors both our struggles and our triumphs. The path to true happiness lies not in enduring suffering for its own sake, but in finding ways to thrive, heal, and grow in all aspects of life.